A study conducted by Nathan Brooks revealed that between 3 and 12% of CEOs are probably psychopaths. And according to another study mentioned in our video description, about 3% of men and 1% of women have psychopathy. Do you think you are a psychopath? You really should take this psychopathy test. The Hare Psychopathy Checklist Revised, PCLR, which is the standard international method for assessing psychopaths. Take into account, however, that the results are intended to be interpreted by a professional psychologist with studies in psychopathy. In psychiatry, the official medical condition for a psychopath is not called psychopathy, but ASPD, Antisocial Personality Disorder. However, for an easier understanding, we are using the well-known term psychopathy. Answer all 20 questions, calculate the score accurately, and at the end, you'll see if you're a psychopath or not based on your score. Definitely no equals 0 points, sometimes equals 1 point, and definitely yes equals 2 points. So let's begin. 1. Glibness and superficial charm. Psychopaths tend to be smooth, engaging, and charming in a superficial or insincere way. They are using this attitude for getting favors or being appreciated way more than they actually deserve. They are not shy at all or afraid to say anything, acting like they own the world. Do you have this superficial charm? 2. Grandiose self-worth. Usually, psychopaths falsely see the world to perceive themselves much more valuable than they actually are. They think they deserve all kinds of merits just because they want them, not because they deserve them. This trait is also very common among people who have narcissistic personality disorder. We have a test also for narcissists. Do you have a grandiose sense of self-importance? 3. Need for stimulation or proneness to boredom. Psychopaths have a strong need for sensationalism, drama, and excitement, which is why they get bored with most activities very quickly. They can't work too long at the same job, getting bored very quickly and constantly looking for new or risky activities. Do you have an excessive need for stimulation? 4. Pathological lying. They also have an uncontrollable need to lie to anyone and anytime. Every normal person lies from time to time, but it's different for them because they do it without a very important purpose. They simply want to mislead and to be the center of attention with the lies they tell. Another reason for lying could be their need to create dissensions among other people. Do you often lie? 5. Conning and manipulativeness. Unlike the previous point of pathological lying, this is not just about innocent and petty lies, but serious manipulation and exploit. They use their manipulative skills for personal gain, not being interested in the fact that others might suffer on their way to accomplish the goal. Do you tend to manipulate? 6. Lack of remorse or guilt. Their manipulation skills would not be as effective if they had remorse or guilt. These emotions would prevent them from dominating and defeating their opponents in cruel ways. They simply have no interest in the victim's emotions. Do you lack remorse or guilt after doing something bad? 7. Shallow affect. Psychopaths have a limited range or depth of feelings. They can't develop strong emotions even for the person they're supposed to love. They do not react to the emotions of others and show interpersonal coldness even if others are open. Are you a person with a shallow affect? 8. Parasitic lifestyle. This is a lifestyle based on intentional, selfish, manipulative, and exploitative financial dependence on others because psychopaths lack motivation and self-discipline to have a sustainable income stream, or they just don't like having the responsibilities that come with a job or a business. Of course, this is true only for adults. Children and students don't fall into this category. Do you have a parasitic lifestyle? 9. Poor behavioral controls. Psychopaths have a big problem with self-control. They get angry very quickly and become irritated in minor situations where such reactions would not make sense. They show irritability, annoyance, impatience, verbal abuse, or even threats and aggression. Do you have poor behavioral controls? 10. Callousness and lack of empathy. Psychopaths lack empathy for people, animals, or every other being. They do not care what the consequences of their actions are because they do not understand how others feel and how they are affected. This lack of empathy can be very harmful to them because it does not allow them to create close interpersonal relationships with other people. Do you lack empathy? Hey, if you did not subscribe to Info to Go and you did not turn on the notification bell, you have no empathy, and you may be a psychopath. Just kidding. Let's move on. 11. Promiscuous sexual behavior. Psychopaths can have many short artificial relationships and affairs with a wide range of people. They do not have many criteria in selecting their partners and show pride when talking about their abilities to seduce and abandon partners. They can even attempt to coerce others into sexual activities. Do you have a promiscuous sexual behavior? 12. Lack of realistic and long-term goals. They generally live under the influence of various unplanned factors. Although they may invoke different reasons, such as that their romantic personality or their need for adventure, the real reasons for the absence of goals is the lack of motivation and self-discipline. Do you lack realistic and long-term goals? 13. Early behavior problems. They can have behavioral problems even before the age of 13. Theft, bullying, cheating, vandalism, or running away from home. Once caught, they will certainly say it will not happen again, but this is a lie. They are not going to correct these attitudes. Did you have early behavior problems? 14. Impulsivity. They easily fall prey to temptations and needs. They cannot control themselves and act without reason and planning in many situations. They are reckless, hurried, and thus end up in many unpleasant and unforeseen situations from which they can no longer escape. Do you consider yourself impulsive? 15. Irresponsibility. They grow up quite slow, and they do careless things, maybe due to the impulsiveness which we talked about in the previous point. They can buy cars, houses, or goods they can't afford. They can make inefficient loans or spend the last money on a luxury vacation. Failure to comply with agreements or obligations is also possible. Are you irresponsible? 16. Failure to accept responsibility for own actions. Psychopaths are not only irresponsible, but they also do not take responsibility for the actions they commit. They try to deny at all costs their guilt in certain situations and want to escape without paying the price. Do you fail to take responsibility for your actions? 17. Many short-term marital relationships. Lack of long-term plans, lack of discipline, and impulsivity bring them into the situation of having many short-term marital relationships. Their promiscuous sexual behavior and the shallow effect can also contribute to this event. Do you have many short-term marital relationships? 18. Juvenile delinquency. Unlike our previous point 12, where it was about behavioral problems before the age of 13, here it's about those between 13 and 18 years old. It can be verbal or physical aggression, intimidation, or even murder in some cases. Did you find yourself in one of these categories between 13 and 18 years old? 19. Revocation of condition release. Sometimes psychopaths who have been imprisoned can be released on some terms, but they violate the rules and conditions imposed. They may not appear in court at the appointed time, or they may recommit the illegalities that brought them to jail. Do you find yourself in this situation? 20. Criminal versatility. Some psychopaths not only commit crimes and illegalities, but can also be proud of them. They tell with pride and coldness how they manage to fool the law, to manipulate, to bribe, or even be aggressive. Do you fall into this category? Now sum the points. A prototypical psychopath would score 40 points, while a person with absolutely no psychopathic traits would score 0 points. People who score 30 points or more can qualify for a diagnosis of psychopathy or ASPD, antisocial personality disorder. Hey, what's your score? Leave a comment and let us know. If you got here, you really have to take the narcissism test. I leave you the video here. See you there.